President Trump now has put in place war plans to bomb Iran. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, this story broke yesterday evening. Wall Street Journal is now confirming, and the White House is not denying, that President Trump now has given the green light, the okay, for advanced plans. He's now seen them. He said he's on board with them to bomb Iran. In particular, what the plan now calls is for the United States to join Israel in a massive air missile campaign, in particular to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons program, targeting their two key nuclear enrichment facilities that are buried very deep underground. One is Natanz, which has already been badly damaged by Israel, but the key one, and we talked about this yesterday, Fordo, which is about maybe 300 feet buried underneath a mountain. They believe that many of these centrifuges that Iran is using to try to push an advance towards a nuclear bomb capability, that's where they're being now spun and created and produced. That Fordo is the heart, along with Natanz, of their entire weapons program. The problem, Israel needs bunker buster bombs to get to the Fordo facility deep underground. They don't have these bunker busting bombs, and they don't have the stealth B-2 bombers to deliver them. We do. And so Trump now has given his approval to this advanced plan that would unleash missile after missile, U.S. strike after U.S. strike. It would be at least 6 bunker busters that they would drop on Fordo, and about another 6 on Natanz, and this would wipe out, according to both Israeli and military and U.S. military planners, this would wipe out Iran's ability and capability, at least in the short to midterm, to be able to develop any kind of a nuclear weapon. Now, I want to stress, the president has not given the final green light. So, he has approved it. The war plans are there. They're ready to go. The generals know exactly what would be expected of them. But President Trump has not given the final okay, the final green light, the final order. He's playing his cards very close to his chest. Here now is the absolute latest. U.S. forces now are surging in the Middle East. There is a huge military buildup. As I talked about yesterday, and it's now been reconfirmed, 3 aircraft carrier strike groups are now either in the area or on their way to the area. The USS Carl Vinson, the USS Nimitz, and the USS Ford, which maybe is the most powerful aircraft strike group carrier that we have. Once the USS Ford is fully there, man, if Trump wants to obliterate much of Iran's military and its nuclear infrastructure, he will have the ability to do so. Destroyers are also now on their way. The Navy now is throwing a lot of assets in the Persian Gulf, in the Arabian Sea. They are now there for a potential massive campaign. Furthermore, U.S. troops now are being deployed across the entire Middle East at military bases, protecting military embassies, consulates. But if they need to be sent in for some kind of a special operations or commando raid, we have the firepower to do that as well. U.S. warplanes now are loading up all over Europe, places like Spain, Italy, Germany, which could easily conduct hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of airstrikes on key military nuclear facilities. So the tension now is sky high. The escalation is now at a record level so far. Israel continues to pound Iran. They have debilitated and destroyed all of Iran's air defenses. They now have complete air dominance. Because of this, they are now destroying Iran's military capability piece by piece by piece. In fact, to show you how effective they now are, they are picking apart Iran's missile launchers. Over a third of Iran's missile launchers are now gone. Now, Iran still has thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles. But if you don't have the ability to deliver them, they're useless. They're expensive, but they're basically, hunks of metal just sitting on the ground. It's sort of like, well, I've got thousands of rounds of ammunition. Great. You can have all the bullets in the world. If you don't have a gun or a rifle or a machine gun to deliver them, they're useless. Missiles in some ways are the same way. And so what Israel is now doing is they are now starting to degrade and systematically now annihilate Iran's ability to wage ballistic missile warfare. However, Iran now is unleashing fire and fury. They realize it's a race against time. Their missile launchers, as I said, over a third have been destroyed. So now they have unleashed the most devastating barrage of their missile strikes in the entire war. This morning, an Israeli hospital, the biggest in southern Israel, was hit directly by an Iranian ballistic missile. The hospital now has been in large part destroyed or badly damaged. They're looking at least 65 Israelis injured. We don't know what the death toll is, but this is now a clear strike on a civilian target by Iran. They are also now targeting other buildings, other civilian areas. They are now launching dozens and dozens and dozens of wave after wave of ballistic missile strikes. Some are getting through the Iron Dome system. Their goal now is to spread terror across Israel and hoping to break the morale of the Israeli people. And so the question now is, at this hour, with Iran now firing ballistic missiles, with Israel controlling the skies, with both countries now all-out war, what will the president do? Yesterday, he was asked by reporters, is it too late to negotiate? He said no. Even at this 11th hour, almost the 12th hour, he said if Iran wants to negotiate an end to their nuclear weapons program, in other words, it would have to be an unconditional surrender. Trump made it very clear it doesn't have to be regime change. I'm not asking the mullahs to leave power, but it has to be an unconditional surrender of their entire nuclear weapons program. No enrichment whatsoever, period. If they're willing to talk that, I'm willing to listen. We can still make a deal. Trump then claimed that senior Iranian diplomats want to go to the White House and negotiate with him directly in the Oval Office. Iran said that's not true. They would never grovel to the United States like that. So I guess if there is going to be a negotiation, it's not going to be in the White House. Now, one last important bit of information. Media reports now say, and this is important, and we're going to find out exactly how or why in the next 24 to 48 hours. But according now to media reports, three, not one, not two, 3 Iranian government planes were spotted landing in the Middle Eastern country of Oman. Why is that important? Jeff, okay. So they're flying government planes to a country nearby. Oman is the country that was mediating the nuclear talks between the United States and Iran. That's where they were meeting previously. That's where they were scheduled to meet until Israel launched its attacks on Iran. So the question now is, by them flying those planes into Oman, is there some kind of a negotiation, backdoor diplomacy, in which a potential negotiated settlement, even at this incredibly late hour, is being now discussed and possibly can be hammered out? We shall see. One final development. Several key Iranian government officials have now reached out to Russia and other countries. They want to defect from the regime. It's still a trickle. It's not a mass exodus. But now senior government officials, many of them see the writing on the wall, and they believe the mullahs are on the verge. They're teetering. They're on the verge of potentially collapsing. Is this the end of the mullahs? Should Trump make a deal? 618 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. General Michael Flynn, very close Trump advisor, confidant, has now come out and told not just Trump supporters, but the entire country, that the next 42 to 72 hours, maybe even 96 hours, basically the next 2, 3, 4 days, he says will be one of the most consequential and important in the history of the United States. That President Trump now is on the cusp, literally on the cusp, of making one of the most important decisions, not just of his presidency, but truly in modern American history. And that is what to do now. Whether to join Israel and go in and help Israel bomb these key nuclear weapons facilities and wipe them out once and for all. Whether to stay the course, which is what I'm urging the president to do, as you know. Let Israel keep going and going and going. We can help them. We can support them. But let's not be a formal co-belligerent and become directly involved. Or the president now is looking at possible olive branches that are coming his way from the desperate mullahs who now see the walls are closing in all around them. And there is still the possibility of a negotiated deal at this very, very late hour. And so the question that I have for all of you, Kuhner Country, and by the way, I just want you to know the White House was definitely listening yesterday. I know this for a fact. So I'd love to hear from you. I think we need to have this debate. We had it yesterday. I want to continue it today. What, in your view now, should Trump do? He's effectively now got three options. He can either join Israel, which is where Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin, many Republicans, many hawks, many neoconservatives are pushing him hard to just go all in, formally join Israel, and then we help Israel bomb and destroy the mullahs' entire nuclear program. Should we stay the course, or should Trump try to make a diplomatic deal, go for a diplomatic solution before he exhausts all diplomatic possibilities now and end this war before we actually commit ourselves to fighting it? So should he give the mullahs a chance, one last chance, to put together a proposal that would end their nuclear weapons program? What say you? 617-266-6868 is the number. I want you to listen now to President Trump. He's put together, as I said, they have now finalized their war plans. The military is ready to strike. All President Trump now has to do is say go. He has not given that final approval yet. Listen to Trump yesterday, asked by reporters repeatedly, have you made an absolute final decision? Listen to his answer. Roll cut 7A, a mic.
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due.
So he hasn't made a final decision. Aides say that is true. He still, even now, they say, believe it or not, if the mullahs would come to him and it's serious and they're committed and they say, okay, enrichment is over, our weapons program is over, it's only going to be for peaceful civilian use, we will never, ever enrich uranium again, and we will give you full unfettered access to all of our sites and reactors, Trump would be willing to take the deal and basically call Bibi up and say, okay, mission accomplished. You don't need to keep bombing. The mullahs have effectively caved and surrendered at the diplomatic table. Now, listen to President Trump, asked about regime change. Now, this is very important because there was talk about 48 hours ago that maybe let's go for the whole thing, the whole enchilada, as they say. Don't just wipe out Iran's ballistic missiles. Don't just wipe out their entire nuclear weapons program, but literally topple the regime itself. Trump seems, at least in public, to have dialed it back a little bit. Yes, unconditional surrender on the weapons and the ballistic missiles and the nuclear program. But if the mullahs stay, that's fine. I'm not, as Trump said, I'm not here for regime change. Now, he's also clearly signaling he doesn't want to send a single American boot on the ground. His aides are saying over and over again, he's telling his military people, this is not going to be Iraq. I'm not going to send in 100 or 150,000 U.S. boys and girls, I guess men and women, our troops, and invade and overthrow this regime and then have an occupation. If we do go in, it's going to be from the air. It's going to be with bunker busters. It's going to be with missiles. It's going to be with our Navy and our aircraft carriers and fighter jet after fighter jet and warplane after warplane. And we're going to basically join forces with Israel, and we will take out their entire nuclear infrastructure. But he said not one boot's going in on the ground. Listen now to Trump saying, look, if the regime falls, we do have scenarios on what to do. But I'm not looking for the regime to fall. They fall, great. But that's a consequence. That's not a direct objective. Roll cut 7, Mike.
On Iran, if regime change does happen there, if the regime falls, do you have a plan for what you think would happen?
I have a plan for everything, but we'll see what happens. Got a ways to go. They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet. And they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that, but it's a shame it could have been done the easy way.
I agree. I mean, I so agree with him. I mean, on the last point in particular, I mean, think about it. He's right. Come on. We had 2 months. I kept telling them over and over again, look, hey, the Israelis aren't messing around. Sorry to put it crudely. They're not effing around. Like, guys, you're going to get hammered. I mean, you're gonna take a military beating like you've never taken one before. Make the deal. They didn't. Now, amidst all of the death and destruction and the desperation of the regime, it looks like they may want to talk. Should Trump talk or should Trump bomb? 6:33 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, here it is. According to the Wall Street Journal, and the White House has not denied it, President Trump has now given his approval, his final approval, to U.S. war plans to bomb Iran. However, he has not given the final order. That last go, green light, it's a go, let's do it. So the plans are there. The pieces are now being maneuvered on the chessboard. The military buildup is now taking place all across the Middle East. Our forces now are positioned almost everywhere, just very, very quickly, because this, I think, is what has the Iranians very concerned. In fact, I know it has them very concerned. The USS Gerald Ford. I talked about the USS Carl Vinson and the USS Nimitz. Those are two U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups. The third one now that is being sent to the region is the biggest, the most modern, the most powerful, frankly, the most expensive aircraft carrier strike group in the history of the world. And that's the USS Ford. It is a modern day killing machine. It will unleash fire and fury. The number of fighter jets, the number of warplanes, the number of Tomahawk missiles, the ability of this strike group to be able to hit key Iranian positions and targets, it's almost unlimited. And so the question now is Trump surging all of these assets to put maximum pressure on the mullahs? As you know, Israel controls the skies, and they're just bombing and bombing and bombing. Is this now maximum pressure, maximum leverage to just break the mullahs back and force them to the negotiating table and essentially cry uncle and sign the surrender of their weapons program? Not the regime, but the surrender of the weapons program. Or is this now the prelude, the inevitable 24, 48 hours before Trump gives the go-ahead and we are now at war with Iran? Let me say one last thing, and then I want to go to the phone lines. The Israeli media across the board, right, left, center, is reporting that they've been talking to senior Netanyahu aides, advisors, officials. The Israelis say they are convinced that it's no longer a question of if, but when Trump decides to join Israel's war against Iran. That the sense they're getting from Trump, the calls he's had with Bibi, that they believe it's a matter of a time, maybe another 24, 48, 72 hours, but that Trump, they believe, will press the button, the green light, and we will be at war with Iran. Take that for what it's worth. So I want to ask all of you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. Will Trump bomb Iran? Not should he bomb Iran. That I want to get from the calls, from all of you. But just, do you think right now, where things stand, will Trump give the green light and get us directly involved in this war? Or do you think he will stay the course and go right to the brink, but not cross that line? Will Trump bomb Iran? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote on X, my handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhner. As I told Mike, for what it's worth, I have no special knowledge, special insight, just the Kuhner man, reading the tea leaves, getting my sense of the administration and what's happening. If you asked me this poll question yesterday, I would have said yes. His constantly referring to we want unconditional surrender. We have total control of the skies. We are about to win this war. So I said, I think he's in. Now, yesterday Trump seemed a little more restrained, little more hopeful about negotiations, seems to want to give that olive branch from Iran one last try. Now, I would say no. If I had to vote, I'd say today, right now, no. But this situation, very fluid, very volatile. 617-266-6868. Okay. Should we bomb Iran? Tom in Stowe. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Yes. Thank you for the decision before us with General Kellogg there. It's wonderful that you do that. Yes, we should bomb. It's in our interest, our U.S. interest. We're the great Satan. Israel is the little Satan. And I agree with General Kellogg. The decision has to be made in the next 24 to 96 hours. Trump is merely not tipping his hand exactly when, to not give away what, when, and how, and things like that. But if Israel has a capacity problem, it can't drop a 30,000 bunker buster bomb there, and that's what's needed to eliminate the capacity of Iran to have a nuclear program. The nuclear program of Iran must be taken away by force, and do it now.
Tom, what do you say? I'm just to play devil's advocate. What do you say to the argument the mullahs now finally, with everything crumbling around them, maybe now they're willing to negotiate and surrender their program diplomatically at the negotiating table? Should Trump give, we're going to call it, it's not peace because Israel is, bombing them to the Stone Age. But in terms of our involvement, should Trump give peace one last chance and hear out the Iranians' final offer?
No, there is no negotiating opening. We need to remove the capacity to produce nuclear weapons from Iran there by bombing the remaining facilities there that have the capacity to produce weapons,
Tom,
nuclear weapons.
Thank you very much for that call. So Tom is saying, let's go. Let's just finish this, join Israel, and just end this thing once and for all. Just a slight correction, Tom. It wasn't General Kellogg. It was General Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn. I mean, Kellogg obviously is a key player as well, but that's on the Ukraine front. Michael Flynn has come out and said the next 48 to 72 hours, he says, will determine, as he put it, the destiny and the future direction of the United States. In other words, a big decision is coming. What it's going to be, we're going to find out very soon. Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, good morning. I can actually hear myself now. The other day I thought it was me. It wasn't.
Yeah, that was another Dave from PA. Forgive me. When I see Dave and, PA on the board, I think it's you right away, my friend. I mean, would it kill Mike to write on the board, not that Dave? I'm just saying, Dave. Or to say Dave in Pennsylvania and write it out so I know it's not you. I'm just saying. Now, Dave, I hate to do this to you because I got Mike in my ear, the maestro. Dave, can you hang on? We're up against a hard break, but we're going to come back to our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent. He's going to tell us what he thinks and what the people in Pittsburgh think. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, as I said in my opening monologue, and we just talked about it with the previous caller before Dave in Pennsylvania called in, General Michael Flynn, a very close advisor and friend of President Trump, has now come out and said that in the next 2 to 3 days, essentially, that this will be some of the most dramatic and critical in the history of the United States. So we clearly now are at a watershed. And my question to you, should the United States join Israel and bomb Iran to end their nuclear weapons program once and for all? Should Trump stay the course, i.e., let Israel keep doing what they're doing? and we just support them, but more behind the scenes. Or there is talk, serious talk, about the mullahs now putting an offer on the table to negotiate a diplomatic solution to an end to their program and an end to the war. Should Trump give peace one last chance? There's essentially now three options on the table. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Bomb Iran, stay the course, or talk to the mullahs one last time. Where do you stand? Let's go right back to our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent, Dave. He reports to us from the greater Pittsburgh area. Dave, I got to ask you, my friend, I know you're a very dear, close friend of Israel. You love Bibi Netanyahu. Where do you stand right now? What should Trump do? If he's listening now, what would you tell him?
Morning, Jeff. I would say, Mr. President, go confirm, do what Reagan did. Trust but confirm, okay? But go forward. Give it, another 48 to 72 hours or maybe 96 like you were alluding to. And if need be, give him the bunker bombers, throw a Star of David on one of our bombers and rock and roll. The beautiful Star of David, and let them take care of it, Jeff. I've seen, I was about a mile and a half away from when they were testing the Daisy Cutter, Jeff, and put it this way, it's like the AC/DC song, Shake Your Foundations, Jeff. It did some damage, buddy. Of course, it was in the desert out in California where they were training. But when they let it off, Jeff, if I'm Iran, I'm running to the peace table right now, Jeff, because this will take out the side of a mountain. Picture like Mount Washington in New Hampshire, Jeff. They'll be lucky if there's not a crater there. Okay, so these Daisy Cutters or Moabs or whatever you want to call them, Jeff, they're the real deal.
Dave, well, that's what I think Trump is also seriously weighing, exactly, and that's you and I are simpatico on this, Dave. Yes, I would say give Israel the bunker busters if they need them, give them the B-2 stealth bombers, paint the Star of David on them if you want, guys, have at it. And Dave, again, I'm just going by what I'm reading in the media, and these are, good reporters with good sources. They say that Israel says they need to drop about 3 of those big bunker busters, on Fordo, and they think 3-4 tops, and that thing is finished. And they want to do another 3 or 4 on Natanz, although they've hit Natanz, and Natanz has been badly damaged. You want to make sure it's completely obliterated. They want to drop a couple more of those bunker busters. So that could also be, I think, the big move by Trump. In other words, we won't do it directly, but here it is. Bibi, finish the war. Here are the bombs. Here are the planes. And shalom, my friend. Dave, how would you answer our poll question? Do you think Trump will bomb Iran? Not what you want him to do. Do you think he will bomb, or do you think he's going to give the weapons to Bibi and Bibi will finish it?
Jeff, but I'd like to add, Jeff, say for argument's sake, we'll give him the 3 or 4. Jeff, they're going to do more than remove that bunker or whatever. Now, Jeff, I got a question. Have you heard in the media, I've been hearing them selling, of course, as a dormouse, about Qasr. Remember, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like in southwestern Iran, where that was a site that I think Israel already previously took that out from prior campaigns. Am I not wrong in saying that?
Yes, you're right, Dave. Yes.
Right. All right, Jeff. Well, listen, I'm going to be going swimming this weekend and enjoying the chlorine-filled hot days. So you have a good time, Jeff. And listen, if we do, Iran's going to wish that we never had these Daisy Cutters, Jeff, or the Moabs, the mother of all bombs. But, Jeff, I'm going to tell you right now, if Iran was smart, which, of course, they're not because they're fundamentally crazy in the head, they should ask Afghanistan what it's like to have Daisy Cutters dropped on them. Granted, the Taliban is still there because of Otto Penn President Joey. Ask them what it's like to be Daisy Cutted, and it's not going to be a pretty. Even though
you're right. You're right. I remember when Trump dropped one of those in Afghanistan in his first term, and I mean that shattered the Taliban, and that was one of the reasons why the last year of his presidency, not a single American soldier was killed in Afghanistan. Dave, you're right, man. It's as close to a nuclear. I don't want to overdo it, but it's as close to the power and devastation, say, of a mega bomb. I don't want to say an atomic bomb, but there's no radiation, obviously. But you're right. It wipes out an entire mountain. It shakes the foundations of the earth for miles and miles and miles. I mean, you drop a couple of those, man. You're right. There's going to be nothing. Forget Fordo. There's going to be nothing left anywhere around that area. Dave, thank you very much for that call. 617. It's a mega weapon. It really is. It's it's a Moab. It's the mother of all bombs. That's what they essentially are. 617-266-6868 is the number. Barbara in Baltimore. Thanks for holding, Barbara, and welcome.
Good morning, and thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure,
And I have to say this always when people are skeptical, and it's, oh, ye of little faith in President Trump. I just love the way he's handling this. To me, this is how it should be, and nobody should really know when it's coming, but it's coming. I have a question have the Iranians allowed the hostages to be released in Gaza? I haven't heard anything about them. Are all of the hostages released?
No.
So why should you believe anything else that they say? They could have done that as a show of good faith, in my opinion. Iran is not going to back down. There's no place else for the mullahs to go except right where they are, and I think they should just meet their virgins right where they are. That mountain needs to be flat. Bam. End of story. Not going to be any soldiers. I'm listening to this news, and these people are panicking. Boots on the ground. Why are you going to have boots on the ground? Why would you need boots on the ground when you got 4 bombs that can obliterate everything? They have no air defense. Israel has softened them. It is time for that to go. That whole threat of nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs, they want to send a bomb to New York. They want to bomb Washington, D.C. I take people at their word. This is what they said they want to do. What is there to talk about except the mullah says he's going to go to somewhere, ask for some asylum, and leave? He's not going to do that. He's not going to.
Oh, I don't think anybody wants him. Barbara, you're right. Look, in a sense, the mullahs have almost painted themselves into a corner now. And, think about this, Barbara. Look, just stand back, objectively, because things are happening so fast. Everything that's happening is so historical. Like, really, if you told me, I don't know, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Israel is going to launch this all-out air campaign against Iran. Really? Oh, yeah. And they're going to smash all their air defenses. Really? Yeah. They're going to wipe out their entire military leadership. No. Yeah. Their intelligence leadership. Yeah. No. I mean, they're going to systematically destroy military base after military facility, nuclear program, nuclear facility. They are going to be hitting Iran targets all over the country. And essentially, I know they're launching missiles, but the Iron Dome is going to block many of them. And essentially, they're going to reduce the mullahs to this impotent power where they're just getting hammered relentlessly day and night at the mercy of Israel. And Israel is almost going to win this war from the air alone. Tiny Israel versus 90 million strong Iran, sitting on one of the biggest reserves of oil in the world. I'd say you're crazy. I say, but you're on drugs. And they've destroyed Hezbollah, and they've smashed Hamas, and they've taken out their proxy in Syria, Bashar Assad. Iran stands alone. Now, think about this, Barbara, okay? I know the Sunni and the Shia don't like each other, and periodically they slaughter each other, but fundamentally they're Muslims. And so you have a Muslim power and in a great Shia power. I mean, they're highly respected in the Shia world, getting their head handed to them by the Jews of Israel. Just think about this. And the Muslim world is quiet. Like, we're just like I almost want to shake people. Like, do you understand how important, how historical this is? You know, the Muslim world has always been, yeah, we don't like each other, but we hate America and Israel more. If Israel ever attacks one Muslim country, they all unify. They're all in solidarity. You know, in other words, yeah, we may, hate each other, but man, oh man, we hate the Jews more and we hate America more. No. Egypt is silent. Saudi Arabia, silent. Turkey, silent. Jordan, silent. Syria, silent. Lebanon, silent. The entire Pakistan now is silent. I don't know what Trump did behind the scenes, but the bluster is gone now from Pakistan. So what I'm saying is the Muslim world is muted while Israeli planes are pounding the Iranian regime into the Stone Age. Barbara, this is incredible. I mean, honestly, it shows you how much these mullahs were hated across forget us, forget Israel, obviously, but across the entire region. Nobody's even lifting a finger, forget to help them, to speak out on their behalf. And that's what Trump said yesterday. I thought he gave a brilliant impromptu press conference. He said, you know what they really are? They're schoolyard bullies. They bully everybody. Not just us. You're deaf to America, deaf to Israel. You just cross them on anything, the slightest thing, and it's death to whatever country. And so, look, they've said death to Saudi Arabia. They've said death to Egypt. They said death to whatever. They've said death to Turkey. They said death to Russia. So what I'm saying is, even though Russia's their ally, any little disagreement, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Right away, they go right on the street burning flags, and Allah is great, and we're going to launch attacks. We're going to start bombing your country. These are 7th century primitive barbarians. They're savages. And I think that's why, quietly, you can just tell the whole Middle East is like, good. Keep going, Israel. Yep. Well, hey, guys, what can you do? Yeah, they wrote a piece of paper, we condemn the attack. Nobody's really condemning the attack. Because you can tell deep down, they're like, good riddance. Get rid of them once and for all. Barbara, I want to play a cut and get your response. The Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has come out and said, no surrender. Trump is saying unconditional surrender. Khamenei, even though his country is being destroyed in front of his eyes. No. He says, no surrender, fight to the death. Listen to Trump's response. Roll cut 6, Mike.
What do you think the Supreme Leader of Iran said that they will not surrender?
Say good luck.
So a reporter asked, what do you say the Supreme Leader has said they will not surrender? And Trump's response, good luck. Barbara, what say you? Final word to you.
Oh, man, that was such a good response. Good luck. Because their luck has run out. They don't have any more luck. I agree with them 100%. And you see these people, they're not going to. They're not going to surrender. I don't believe they are. And if they did, it just gives them more time to do more propaganda and to have more people getting all riled up against President Trump and what he's trying to do. I've never seen a president that operates the way he does. He is on top of this thing, and I'm telling you, what good is that? What good is that nuclear facility going to be? Why leave it standing anyway? What's it going to be used for? And who's going to use it? Take it out. Take it out. Take the mountain out. Put a resort there. That's where I feel. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, with these savages running Iran, there's going to be no resort. I mean, they don't want, forget women in bikinis. You got to be covered. They didn't even want women swimming in the water, covered head to toe. But I hear you, Barbara. Barbara, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Really, I mean, I'm not kidding. Like in some parts of Iran, women are not just covered head to toe. They're not allowed to go into the water at a beach. They can stay on the sand, but they can't even go into the water. It is such an oppressive, backward regime. You can't believe it. Again, when I say 7th century, I'm not kidding. They haven't evolved from the 7th century. The leadership, not the people, the leadership. Jerry on Cape Cod. Thanks for holding, Jerry, and welcome.
Jeff, good morning.
Hi, Jerry.
Last week when I spoke to you, I told you we were in this, and I stand by that. We are in this. But Iraq, Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan, Bushehr, those are all enrichment sites. Jeff, if there's 100 centrifuges in each place, okay, that's 500 centrifuges with nuclear materials, enriched nuclear materials. If we bomb those places, Jeff, has anybody thought about this, the contamination? No one's said anything about that. No one. I'm not hearing anyone say anything about contaminating the earth. Do you think Israel's going to be safe once they blow that to hell? It's going to be everywhere in the Middle East is going to be contaminated, and eventually the fallout's going to come here. Look at the little leak in Chernobyl. I was talking to Mike about this off air. Look at the leak in Chernobyl, Jeff. What happened there?
Well, Jerry, look, just to reinforce what you're saying, it wasn't just an environmental, ecological disaster for that entire part of Ukraine. It really damaged Eastern Europe, the soil, the clouds, the skies were contaminated. So when it rained, it contaminated the earth, which contaminated the food supply in Eastern Europe. And look, my dad went on this was in 87, I believe, 87, 88. Don't quote me, but it was just about a year after Chernobyl. And my mother joined my dad. He'd have business trips. And sometimes he'd have to stay for a couple months. And when he would stay for that long, my mother would join him. And he had a business trip that year in Hungary, which was then still behind the Iron Curtain. And so my mother went with him. Long story short, my mother loved to eat vegetables. And so, she bought a lot of fresh vegetables. And many Hungarians were complaining that they felt that the after effects of Chernobyl was leading to the poisoning of their food supply. And my mother ended up getting breast cancer a couple years later. And then she battled breast cancer her whole life. And then she ended up getting pancreatic cancer, which killed her. Long story short, there is hardly any history in our family of cancer of any kind. Usually we drop dead of heart attacks, but not of cancer. And my mother was convinced the moment she got cancer, till the day she died, she said it was the after effects of Chernobyl. That she said, when I came back from Hungary and I ate the food in Hungary because, she likes fresh food, that she never felt the same again. So just to reinforce what you're saying, you start having radiation leaks. You start contaminating the ground, the air. That was Ukraine, and you could feel the effects all the way to Hungary. So, Jerry, please keep going.
Another thing I wanted to mention is I'm not anti-Israel, and that's not the reason why I'm talking about this. I love the people in Israel, and the people in Persia are good people too. The Iranians are good people. The regime is what's bad. But Jeff, we're being played too. I think Netanyahu's playing us a little bit because he's trying to strike up. He wants us in it to win it with him. And I don't agree with that. And for him to say that the Iranians are trying to kill Trump, I think he's being disingenuous because, Ruth and the other guy there, Crooks, their cell phones were traced back to the Ukraine. All of their calls were traced back to the Ukraine. The Ukrainians were pissed off when Trump got elected. They want him dead because he was going to shut off the spigot. That's what that was all about. So don't be disingenuous and tell us it's all Iran. Because that's not true.
Jerry, if you're advising Trump, and we've got about a minute, should he bomb Iran or stay out?
He should set up a meeting with the Ayatollah and the mullahs, and once they're there, the Mossad should go in and kill them, and then we just go in and dismantle every site in the country. We can dismantle all of the enrichment centers, all the research centers that are left, and we can dismantle Pachin too. So I don't think believe that there's any need to be playing McManiac and playing bomb Iran.
Jerry, thank you very much for that call, my friend. Okay, Jerry's basically saying, let's do it diplomatically. Let's stop the bombing. And one of the concerns is the longer we bomb, the more this could lead to radioactivity or radiation being leaked from all of these nuclear facilities and underground enrichment sites. So let's throw that on the table. Are you afraid of the fallout if we continue with the bombing campaign? 617, the nuclear fallout. 617-266-6868 is the number. President Trump now has approved the final war plans to bomb Iran. He has not given his final approval yet, but that may be coming any moment now. My question to you, should we join Israel and bomb Iran? Should we stay the course or give peace with the mullahs one last chance? 718 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so, yeah, just to clarify, obviously, it really wasn't diplomatic solution that Comrade Jerry, the previous caller, was putting forth. He basically was saying, get him at the diplomatic table, all of them, and then almost James Bond style, take him out. So, I mean, I guess, it's kind of a diplomatic solution. I mean, you're killing people. Supreme leader, dead. The president of Iran, dead. The foreign minister, dead. But it's done at the diplomatic table. But basically, Jerry's larger point was, you want the bombing to end as quickly as possible. Why? Because the fear of radiation being leaked into the environment, into the soil. This is a real risk. The Arak, not I-R-A-K, but Arak, like A-R-A-K, one of Iran's big heavy water nuclear reactors, was hit hard yesterday, in fact last night, by Israel in one of their bombing strikes, and apparently it was a direct hit. So they are systematically degrading Iran's nuclear weapons program. There's no question, but one of the big dangerous side effects potentially could be radiation leaking either into the atmosphere or into the ground, into the soil. And so Jerry's point is, let's try to end the bombing as quickly as possible and get people on the ground to dismantle these programs, these, inspectors, watchdog groups, and not have it done with massive bombs, because if you do it through military means, this will lead to radiation and radioactivity spewing forth into the atmosphere. And that's a very serious concern. I know Trump is very worried about it as well. And one of the big nuclear enrichment sites is very close to Tehran, which has about a population of 10 million people. And to be frank, that's a key reason why both Trump and Bibi Netanyahu have urged the Iranians that live in Tehran, leave, evacuate, flee. Not just because they're targeting key military facilities and buildings, but also because the possibility is, if they go for that big enrichment site, of the possible radioactivity and radiation fallout. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I just want to read this. It's a dynamite text from 603. Jeff, by the way, you can text us 70470, 70470. Jeff, you've asked the question. In fact, it's the poll question of the day. Will Trump bomb Iran or not? The answer is that all depends on Iran. Trump has put the ball in Iran's court. If you've watched Trump for any time at all, you'll recognize his posturing. He's leveraging for a deal, no differently than he did with the tariffs. He threatens to use them, and he's willing to use them without question, but he'd rather not, and is willing at any time to strike the deal he's looking for. So essentially, like Theodore Roosevelt, he walks softly and carries a big stick. And it's a stick he'd rather not use, but is absolutely willing to if need be. I think 603 hit the nail nailed it. It hit the nail right on the head. You can see even now at this late hour, you can tell on him. He goes, look, I don't want to really do this. I mean, I'll do it. If I got to do it, I'll do it. If we have to go heavy and bomb Iran, the plans are there. We will do it. But he's almost like it's so senseless. This death and destruction. Just come to the negotiating table. Either we do it the easy way or the hard way. But this is going to get done. You are not going to have nuclear weapons, period. You will never get the bomb, period. Like, it's just unacceptable. It is a red line that Israel, frankly, most of the Middle East, the United States, Europe, the West, and in many ways the world will not allow. And Trump is sort of like, look, I don't want to, I want a deal. I want to do it the peaceful way. I really do. But you keep pushing and pushing and pushing. That's why, if you want, I'll play you the cut. He was almost exasperated. He goes, look, I give up. Not that he gives up on winning. Like, I give up. Like, okay, it's unconditional surrender now. Like, I try to negotiate, and I try to negotiate. And I try to tell you, look, a lot of carrots. Trade with the outside world. You can have peaceful nuclear energy if you want for civilian purposes. You can really develop your country economically. Just the nuclear weapon, no. Yeah, that's a no. Everything else, guys, you got a great future ahead of you. And it's almost like, he goes, I'm just done with these mullahs. They refuse to see reason. So I agree with 603. It's art of the deal. It's maximum pressure. Yet give them a way out if they still want to go to the diplomatic table. Mel in Saratoga. Thanks for holding, Mel, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Mel.
How are you today, Jeff?
Good. How are you?
Not so bad. Not too bad. A little busy, but anyhow, I'm not, in regards to, Jerry, your previous caller, I totally agree with what he's saying in regards to the enrichment facilities being blown up. And President so-called seems to be, the president, he's dragging us into this war. I mean, without a congressional declaration of war, I don't know how we can be involved in this, but Israel being an ally of the U.S., I guess it is what it is. But Netanyahu, since I'd go back into the 80s, that it seems to be a month to 2 weeks of them becoming fully capable of nuclear weapons turned into decades. So, this guy's been selling this for decades, and so far there's never been a nuclear bomb launched into Israel or anywhere in the world from Iran. But I'm just curious. I mean, this guy, he seems to always want to, like to say, he lit the fuse now, but he seems to always wanted to go into Iran and get them for whatever reason. But he's got his own military. I'm sure he could have, escaped, held him off, or even annihilated him.
Mel, can you do me a favor? I want you to finish your point. Mel is skeptical. Obviously, he's very skeptical. And if the United States does go to war, and I completely agree with him, Congress needs to give Trump the authorization. So more. Mel, hang on. Next. All right, you can cut the tension with a knife. It's obvious now. President Trump now on the verge of a momentous decision, as one of his top advisors now has come out and said, General Mike Flynn, within the next several days, the most dramatic, important decision in American history will be made. What that is, we shall see. The question now, will President Trump bring us formally into the war against Iran? Should he? Or should he stay the course? In other words, help Israel, but still keep out of it? Or give the mullahs one last chance to settle this at the diplomatic table? Let's go back to Mel in Saratoga. Mel was making the point that he doesn't trust Netanyahu, that since 1995, it's been 30 years, Netanyahu has been saying next couple weeks, next couple months, Iran's about to get the bomb, that Netanyahu has been itching to fight and have a war with Iran. He's finally gotten that war, according to Mel, and that if the United States is to get involved, directly involved, Congress must give its approval and have a vote in the House and in the Senate. Mel, please pick up where you left off.
Well, yes, Jeff. I just, those in Congress now remember now too. I mean, just like the song went. I'm not a senator's son. If it ever comes down to where we're going to have troops in there and we're battling it out with Iran and all of the Middle East over there, they ain't going to be sending their kids. I got a grandson. I know you got sons too, or son too, Ashton. I mean, he's nowhere near any draft age, but when the draft, if say for instance, the draft does happen to proceed, I wonder how many Dodgers are going to be related to any of these congressmen and these senators. But I also listened to an interview between Tucker Carlson and Senator from Texas, Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz, yep.
And he took him to task. Carlson took Cruz to task. These guys always in these warmongering senators and congressmen. He had no idea even the population of Iran, but he wants to go over there and blow them to bits. But those people in Iran, they deserve to live free also. I mean, you can't be under the pressure of these Stone Age mullahs. And these guys got beards that down, so low. They got beards so freaking long that they're damn just about tripping over it. And they're walking around with beaver skins all over their heads and all. I mean, that's all religious. That's a religion, yeah, of course. But
no, they're fanatics. No, Mel, look, there's no question. You're right. They are medieval religious Islamist fanatics. That's what they are. You're completely right. Mel, I got to ask you, I take it from every sense I get from you is if Trump's people are listening, you're saying you didn't vote for this. Stay out. Don't bomb Iran, correct?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to get in there and sell them the bombs, don't go giving it to them. Why don't you just sell it to them? You guys want to keep, you want to have a war over there and be supplied. Well, here's the price tags for this bomb, that bomb, this weaponry. Hey, that way, you're neutral. Hey, you guys want to get that? Go get busy. Get busy. Here's the price tag. This is what it's going to cost you. So Iran. I mean to Israel. So that way you're not really directly involved. Yeah, and you're making a profit. But that's my thought.
I hear you, Mel. As always, thank you. I really appreciate it, Mel. Mel, thank you, my friend, and have a wonderful day. God bless you, Mel. So Mel says no. Mel says don't get involved. It's not our fight. Let Israel fight this fight, but we should not be bombing Iran. Agree, disagree. Angelo, as you can tell, Kuhner country's divided like MAGA is divided. And by the way, this debate that we're having now, it's on social media. It's among MAGA influencers. It's among MAGA politicians up in Congress. staunch Trump supporters, and they're having this discussion and this rigorous debate themselves. 617-266-6868. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
Hey, what a hot topic, Jeff. But let me just say one thing, and people have very, very short memories. Look at 9/11 and all these horrific things that go on. But let's flip the table here. If the mullahs had the technology and might that the United States have, we would not be talking today. We'd be dust. People don't realize that you cannot negotiate with bloodthirsty terrorists. He and the mullahs are funneling all this terrorism through the whole region in the world, and it can't be tolerated. It's terrible that there might be some fallout from the mess that we could endure in them, but whatever it is, it's got to be done. Hopefully they come to the table for unconditional surrender. Then you can send the troops in to police these places, and they'll never have a bomb. If they don't do that, you got to unleash holy hell on them. And just while I got you on the air, these Omar, they don't a military state. I'd like to see them cuff her and escort her back with her incest brother that she married to get into the country. They gotta look into that case and export the both of them, because that's how they got here. No good.
Angelo, I'm so happy you mentioned Ilhan Omar. Some people did something. She's disgusting. Look, as I said in a video that's gone viral now, yesterday, it's gone everywhere. I said, deport her. Really, send her ass back to Somalia. I want everybody to think about this. If you haven't heard, Ilhan Omar recently came out and said, listen to this, that under Trump, the United States has become a military dictatorship that she says now is worse even than Somalia. And that now, according to her, the United States is, quote unquote, one of the worst countries in the world. One of the worst countries in the world. So here you have this woman whose father was part of a Marxist Somali dictatorship that slaughtered I don't know how many people, who comes from a refugee camp. Literally, she was in a refugee camp, a Somali refugee camp. And she comes to this country, and as Angelo is completely right, commits immigration fraud, commits marriage fraud, marries her own brother, for God's sake. Okay, that's i.e. incest. And she was married already with another person. So that's bigamy. So on top of all of that, then she becomes a U.S. Congresswoman. After everything this country has done for her, taken her in, now she's literally in the halls of Congress. And this is the gratitude that we get from this ingrate? That she stands there and spits on this country and says, you're one of the worst countries in the world. In the world. Strip her of her citizenship, I'm telling you, and ship her right back to Somalia. Hey, if Somalia is so much better, and if you hate it here so much, leave, go. And as I said in the video, I flipped her the bird. I gave her the middle finger and I said, kiss it. Mwah, here it is. You can't see me because I'm behind the microphone. I'm giving her the bird again. Here it is. Mike, you can confirm it. Am I not giving the middle finger right now? You can't see the monitor. Well, anyway, okay. He says he can't see past the monitor. Trust me. Okay. No, here's two. I'm giving it the two-fingered salute. Both hands. There. Kiss it. Go back to Somalia. I mean, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. And I'm telling you, she's a fifth columnist. And that's my fear. If we go to war with Iran, her, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, I don't trust any of them. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, listen now to President Trump saying that they've been getting a lot now of signals, backroom signals coming in from intermediaries across the Middle East on behalf of the mullahs in Tehran. as they see their ballistic missiles now getting destroyed. Their supply is dwindling as they see one nuclear facility after another being utterly obliterated, as they see their military and intelligence leadership being decapitated, as the regime now is crumbling, no question, as it is now slowly being degraded by Israel day after day after day. And with the U.S. now building up a massive military presence in the region, they want to talk peace. They want to negotiate a nuclear deal. Listen now to President Trump. Roll cut 5A, Mike.
And they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that. And they got hit. Remember 60 days? And then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit, that was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night, yes.
So basically, he thinks Israel effectively has won the war. I mean, he clarified. He goes, nothing is won yet until they capitulate. But that first 24 hours was so successful, so effective, so lethal. It just so caught Iran off guard. And they were able to do so much damage that he thinks the mullahs in many ways now may never recover. Listen now to Trump. Now he's basically saying, look, I don't want ground troops. I'm not talking about a long-term war. If I do decide to go in, I want to go in fast. I want to go in heavy. It's going to be primarily through the air, using bunker busters, missiles. We've got these aircraft strike carriers. We're going to help Israel, and we are just going to level the entire nuclear weapons program of Iran. The mullahs will never come close to getting a bomb again. Roll cut 4, Mike.
People in the base don't want a long-term war. They're afraid that we're going to get into a long-term war.
We're looking for a long-term war. We're looking. I only want one thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's it. I'm not looking long-term, short-term. And I've been saying that for 20 years. I've been saying it as a civilian who got a lot of publicity. People would cover it. Very simply, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's it. It's not a question of anything else. And if you did, you wouldn't have much of a country because they would use it on us and they'd use it on other people and they'd be a terror all over the world.
So what he's saying, I mean, it's obvious what he's saying, but he's saying, look, this is a red line. It's not just Israel's red line. It's America's red line. He's convinced it's also the red line for many countries in the Middle East. And it's certainly a red line for the Europeans, for the West. It would be terror for the whole world. They cannot have a nuclear weapon, period, full stop. Now, if you listen to Trump is, what I love about him is he's very honest. He's almost got no filter. There's not a duplicitous bone in his body. Yeah, Mike says almost. He says, I don't think he even has any filter, but whatever. My point is, look, he's saying, look, I don't want short-term, long-term. He's basically saying, look, I don't want to drop one bomb. You want I'm ready to do it. Look, just look around them. Look at the aircraft carriers. Look at the Navy destroyers. Look at the troops I'm sending in. Look at the warplanes. We're ready to, almost wipe them off the face of the map. But he goes, I don't want to drop one bomb. I don't want to put one ground troop on one boot on the ground. I just want them to come out and say, look, okay, the days of us pursuing a nuclear weapon are over. So I don't care if we do it diplomatically. I don't care if we do it militarily. I don't care if Israel does it. And, we just watch and support them. He goes, that's it. That's all I want. No nuclear bomb for Iran, period. And the capability to develop a bomb, period. That's it. He's even saying to the mullahs, this is why I can't believe how stupid they are. Again, they truly are lunatics and fanatics. He's even telling them, stay in power. That's why he keeps saying, he goes, you'll have a country, man. You'll stay in power. You're going to lose everything. He's almost like a businessman. Like, don't you realize what you're doing? You're going to lose power. You're going to lose your weapons. You're going to lose your military. You're going to lose your nuclear program. Your people may even turn against you and hang you on the streets. Like, hello. I mean, if you could bang him on the head with his knuckles. Like, hello. So anyway, here we are. Should Trump bomb Iran? Should he stay the course? Or should he give diplomacy one last chance? Victor in Georgetown. Thanks for holding, Victor, and welcome.
Kuhner, man, I always enjoy your show, bro.
Thank you, Victor.
I look forward to it every morning. And I just make these comments, just regretting the loss of 223 Marines that were murdered by this group of heathen SOBs. So here's the comment that I have. Poker players, if they had to make a move based on what we're seeing, all the attention is on bombing this bunker. So everything is saying, look at the right hand, and the left hand is doing all the work, Jeff. If I had to bet, Israel has the blueprints on this freaking bunker. And if they have total air superiority, which they do, which means that the Iran Air Force is disassembled, then they can pull off any operation they want. They don't need to bunker buster to take out that facility. There's a lot of ways that facility can be taken out, and I think that's exactly what is happening right now. Plans are being activated to do that, and it's not going to involve the B-2 bomber dropping a bunker buster bomb, which I have no problem with. All right, if that's what it took, I'd be there helping to fuel up that jet to get the job done. My bigger concern, Jeff, is that the American people are too soft to realize how dangerous this world is. It's like little Johnny goes out in the backyard and says, oh, look at the pretty snake. It's a coral snake. Oh, it bit me. And little Johnny's dead. Why? Because you know what? It's okay. Just let Johnny do whatever he wants. There's nothing to worry about. And America is walking around in that cloud, not realizing there are people that would eviscerate them if they could. They have no understanding of how dangerous this world is. Those 223 Marines over in Lebanon that were blown up, in the middle of the night, were lost due to a mistake made, by their leadership. But I'm just afraid that America is just going to hope for the best, whistle past the graveyard, and, this too shall pass. Well, it's going to pass, Jeff, but it's going to pass at a great expense to your freedom, possibly to your life. With the leadership that preceded President Trump, Biden was Mr. Don't worry about it, and or the people that operated behind Biden, don't worry about it. President Trump gets in there, and he looks incredibly, boisterous. It's simply because he understands what's going on, and he's bringing it to the attention of people that don't want to pay attention to it. That's my thought, Jeff.
Well, Victor, look, I think there's a lot to what you're saying. The Israeli media is reporting that Israeli senior the generals, the top military people that have executed this strategy now of degrading and destroying Iran's nuclear program, they insist in private. They go, look, if push comes to shove, yeah, we'd like the bunker buster, obviously. It's the simplest, the easiest, they say with the highest level of possible success. But they're ready to take out Fordo, whether the United States gives them the bunker buster or not. They have smaller penetrating bombs, not quite as big as ours, but smaller still, bunker busters, penetrating bombs. And they say, Okay, we'll drop 15 of them. 15 or 20 of those equals to 2 or 3 of these bunker busters. And as you put it, they have such command over the skies now. See, that's what's the game changer in this. That's why I'm shocked.
Yes.
I'm shocked that we're at this point. Because now Israel can just drop one of these smaller bunker buster and another and another and another and another and another. And eventually they'll just smash Fordo to pieces. They can also send in a commando raid, which they're very good at. In other words, soften it up, hit the mountain with some of these smaller penetrating bombs, and then come in with a daring commando raid and just blow that thing up to smithereens. So Israel is ready to take out Fordo, whether we send them the bunker busters or not. So, and honestly, that's an argument J.D. Vance is making to Trump. His argument is Israel can win this without us completely. Like, you will get what you want. Their nuclear weapons program will be wiped out. And we don't have to get directly involved. So one of the arguments, his team is divided on this issue. I mean, they support Israel. But the argument is, should we get directly involved? And so what JD and others, he's not the only one, but JD's the guy leading this, saying, look, Mr. President, do a cost-benefit analysis. If Israel can do all of the dirty work for us, and we can basically be on the sidelines, I mean, we're helping them, but we're not directly committed, we get involved, we get a lot of the headaches, and how much do we really help Israel in the end? If they can take it out on their own, okay, it may be a little longer. It may take, 10 days instead of 5 days. But he goes, but in the end, if Israel can do it, let them do it. And that keeps you free. You're not directly involved. And you're not violating your central campaign pledge. You're not going to split your base. You're not going to possibly trigger a response, say, from other great powers like China. You're not going to be, you're not going to be sucked into possible regime change. And so he's saying it keeps your independence. It keeps us out of it. And we still accomplish the mission. So that's why Trump is like, ugh. You could see almost in his mind, he's going back and forth. Should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? Let me just make one other very, very important point. And this is full credit to Dinesh D'Souza. This is Dinesh D'Souza's point, and he's completely right. You know who's almost as heartbroken as the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei? Okay, Mr. Allah Akbar, Allah, Allah. Well, Mr. Allah Khamenei, the other person that's almost now as sad and heartbroken is the dear leader. It's Barack Hussein Obama. Why? Because in destroying Iran's nuclear program, and make no mistake, that's what Netanyahu is now doing, he has also destroyed Obama's dream. Remember, dreams from my father. And it was that lunatic father of his, this anti-American socialist, who dreamed that the United States would be brought down by empowering America's enemies. And that's what Obama did for 8 years, and he continued it under Biden. And the centerpiece of his strategy to bring us down was to put Iran on the path to the bomb, to give them billions and billions and billions of dollars, to drop the sanctions, to empower the mullahs. When they faced a massive internal revolt, the Green Movement, he backed the Ayatollahs against the dissidents. So, who built up Iran? Obama. Who funded Iran? Obama. Who gave them the path to the bomb? Obama. Because ultimately, Obama wanted radical Islam to have the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. Bibi now is destroying not just Khamenei and the dreams of the Ayatollahs, he's also now destroying Obama's dream. Finito. It's over. Betty in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Betty, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Betty?
Good, good. Getting ready for the Miami heat wave coming through.
Yeah, they say it's going to be about 100 degrees, Betty. So crank up that AC.
Crank it up. So, Jeff, I just think Trump is handling this like a champ, really. I think we need to trust him, and I think, everyone who's, talking against him saying, he's going to do this. He didn't run on this. He didn't run on this. It's like he's led us before with his leadership and his instincts. I mean, this guy, he's unbelievable. And as far as I think the olive branch, Jeff, I think it's unfortunate. But for me, I think it's the end to the O. I said, these people, they're going to continue to snap the branch. They can't be trusted. And, they're so used to the weakness, in the presidency with Biden and with, all the others before him and them working together. Trump didn't run on this, but, by judging his first term, we all know he's peace through strength. And, Jeff, I mean, the things evolving, and there's certain things that we don't even know. So, we got to leave it to him to make the decisions. And, all the things going on behind the scenes. I say no, let Israel just go with it and supply them with, the bunker bombs and the Moabs and stuff like that, whatever they need. He is peace through strength, and, he'll be able to keep the ally with Israel. And I think he's shown us nothing but strength and leadership through his incredible instincts. God bless Trump. I think he's got this. We got to trust him.
Well, Betty, look, Grace said this yesterday when she did her hit, and I want to echo it. I truly believe this. You can agree or disagree. I'm just speaking from the heart now like I'm in the confessional. I believe God saved Trump on that field in Butler, Pennsylvania. And I don't believe, he was a millimeter away. Literally, we're talking a millimeter. Had he not turned his head at that exact precise millisecond, this would be John F. Kennedy. His brains would be blown out and he'd be dead. And instead, that bullet hit him right in the ear. And he did it, I believe, not just to save America, but I believe to save Israel and maybe even to save the world. I truly believe that. And so what I hope people do over the next 24 to 48 hours, pray for the president. I know it sounds corny. People are going to be like rolling their eyes. Really, honestly, we used to do this in our country all the time. This is a momentous decision. He's got so much on his shoulders right now. He knows what hangs in the balance. He knows this will be, as Mike Flynn put it, one of the most important dramatic moments in the history of the United States, maybe even the world. Pray for the president that God gives him the strength and the wisdom and the courage and the bravery to make the right decision for America, for Israel, for the region, for the world. And I agree with you. I think this is it. This in many ways will define his presidency right here, right now. Now, this is unbelievable breaking news. People, I have to tell you as an historian, I don't think people understand militarily what an incredible operation this is. This is almost like, is this for real? So just so that you know, and I think this may now change Trump's mind. I don't know. But Israel now has come out with their latest report on what's happening. Remember, they control the skies completely. They have now destroyed over 2/3. This is breaking as I speak to you. 2/3 of Iran's missile launchers. 2/3. Now, they still have thousands of missiles, but missiles without missile launchers are useless. You can't fire them. That means that Iran now has about 100 missile launchers left. They had over 300. In another couple days, they're going to have no missile launchers at all. At all. If this continues, and I believe it will, at this pace, at this intensity, at this accuracy. And remember, Israel has complete air dominance. So now they can just pick off one launcher after another after another. Basically, now all they're doing is hunting launchers now. You take out all of the missile launchers, Iran has nothing left. They can't fire those missiles. They're useless. So if this is true, and I don't believe Israel is lying, we are now maybe 2-3 days away from an incredible military victory. Iran will be utterly, it's like a fighter with both hands down. He can't throw a punch. There's nothing, he can't punch. And that means Israel will have its way. They can bomb Iran at will. They will force the mullahs now to a surrender. So I don't know if this changes Trump's calculus, but if I'm the president now, after hearing this, 2/3 of their missile launchers are gone. And, you continue at this pace by Saturday, by Sunday, they'll have nothing left. If they can't launch a missile, it's over. I mean, literally, it's over. And if it's over, why should we get involved? In other words, Israel's won one of the greatest military victories, honestly, in the history of the world. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is huge, dramatic, breaking news. And Trump now is weighing whether we should bomb Iran. Betty, thank you very much for that call. Your reaction next. 617-266-6868 is the number. To bomb Iran or not to bomb Iran? That is the question. Bob in Marblehead. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Jeff, good morning. I've got two things. A comment first. When my father used to say when I was being stubborn and not listening, testa dura. You capisce? You understand?
Yeah, hard head in Italian.
Yeah, and so that's what I would say to the Mullahs. And suggestion for the president, he should address two bodies. One, the UN. I know they're a mealy-mouthed group, but he should suggest that he speak. I would suggest he speaks. Lay out. This is what we feel. This is what I'm capable of doing. I don't want to do it. I would ask every single one, and I would put my finger around the room. Every single one of you, burn the phone lines to the mullahs and say, we're looking for a peaceful solution for this, and especially for our friends in the Middle East. Put maximum pressure on them to see if you can talk any sense to the mullahs. That's one. And then in the UN speech, say in 10 days or some in the very near future, I'm going to address Congress, both houses, and ask for a declaration of war if I can't get them to make a deal and arrive at a peaceful solution. And the other thing, while he addresses Congress, bring up a little bit of history. President Roosevelt was basically in the same position because England was fighting the Nazis by themselves until we did the Lend-Lease, and we eventually got to be allies with them and save England, which we did, and the rest of Europe. But I would draw that parallel from history because he basically is in the same position. And if we don't support Israel to clear up that mess in the Middle East, it's going to go down the tubes. And he should make that a point. So what do you think?
Well, Bob, I think he's definitely going to address the country. I love your idea of him addressing, not that I care for the UN like you, but the UN, you can address the world by addressing the UN, right? So you give a major address to the UN and you can, the whole world will listen. And look, I think now with the regime in serious jeopardy, again, if this report is true, and I'm not saying Israel's lying, because in fact, this kind of undercuts their case a little bit to be asking the United States to help them if they've already destroyed 2/3 of Iran's missile launchers. That's, to me, just incredible. So, so that's why I'm like, I tend to believe it. But you know what they say, right? In war, truth is always the first casualty. So both sides, it's just the nature of war. Both sides end up lying in a war. Some lie more, some lie less, but so if this is true, and I'm inclined to believe it is, then to be honest, this regime is teetering. The mullahs are in serious trouble now. Forget the nuclear weapons program. This whole regime could just come crashing down. And the weaker they are, the more, like China's going to say to itself, we can't prop them up anymore. Maybe we should be focusing on the alternative and make sure we have influence over the regime that's going to replace them. And same thing with ditto for the Russians, and ditto for Pakistan, and ditto for Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Egypt and the other key players in the region. So I think what Trump can do is not just address the world, but exactly what you suggest. I don't just mean the great European powers, Germany and Britain and France, but he could get the world powers, China, Russia, the regional powers, Turkey, Egypt, others, Saudi Arabia, and say, look, guys, maybe it's time we just say to the Iranians, to the mullahs, your time's up, you gotta go. You gotta go. Because what you're watching now this is a military collapse. The only thing, look, Bob, I understand your analogy because they are modern day Islamo-Nazis. So I understand your analogy for, England versus Germany. But Germany was winning the war. Germany was an incredible, under Hitler, in the early years of the war, they were a military juggernaut. England was on the ropes. This would be, think about it. Well, England's winning. England's, kicking Germany's rear end. England now has just wiped out 2/3 of their military. England's bombing Berlin, bombing Frankfurt, bombing, it looks like the Nazis, the whole thing may fall. So it's harder for then FDR to galvanize the country. They're like, it doesn't look like England needs our help. So what I'm saying is the way the war has now changed so decisively, and especially in the last 24 to 48 hours, and I think part of it, Bob, I think we've underestimated just how deeply unpopular this theocratic regime in Iran is. And look, there's a great text. I'm going to read it fully because I think it needs to be read completely after the break. But this 603 sent it to me, and I'm like, this is completely right. You have to see the videos in Iran that are coming out. Israel is dropping bombs on their country, and ordinary Iranians are cheering. I've never seen, normally, another country is bombing my country. I'm like, I don't like this. I could be killed. My family could be killed. My friends could be killed. The city I love is being destroyed, right? That's just natural instinct is, I hate them. Don't bomb me. Don't bomb my country. No, they're going, yeah. Every time they see a bomb, yeah. So you have a lot of Iranians now who are cheering the bombing of the mullahs. And you've now got the military defections. You've now got a couple of senior political people. They've called Russia. They've called other countries saying, we want out. Can you give us asylum? We want to exit. We want to defect. So if this continues, this may be a rout. Now, I don't want to jump the gun. You got a hospital now in Israel. I talked about this. Direct hit from one of these Iranian ballistic missiles. The biggest hospital in southern Israel. What is it now? They say 90 injured, almost 90 injured. They don't know how many are dead. So missiles are still getting through. This regime is not finished. But, Bob, I think if I were Trump, this may be the time to tell the whole world, let's all take Iran out together. The mullah's times, I hope, it may be now coming to an end. Please God, I hope it's true. 617-266-6868 is the number. You know, I just got to say this, as somebody who's been in the news business, as you know, for most of my life, but really the last 25 years, both as a print journalist and obviously on talk radio. I don't think I've ever seen a story evolve in terms of a major story, like a major war like this, just evolve and change and move so quickly, and the constant new developments. And now look, again, this is all preliminary. I'm just reporting what the media is saying from the Israeli government. So take it for what it's worth. I don't want to, get everybody's hopes up. But if this is true, if Israel now has destroyed over 2/3 of Iran's missile launchers, and the regime truly is now starting to splinter and fracture, and if this continues for the next couple of days, if Israel can maintain this incredible momentum and really this incredible level of success, I don't like the analogy because I don't never want to compare Israel to Nazi Germany. To me, it's very deeply offensive. But it's going to be, in terms of military history, it's the way people look at the fall of France in 1940. They were just, whoa, what happened? Everybody thought, whatever you thought of, Hitler and stuff, how formidable was their military. Everybody thought, well, no, the French are going to give them a really, really good run for their money. And the French they just caved. They just capitulated. They just got rolled over. What's stunning so far is like, this is France, 1940, but, 2025. The way the Iranians, the Iranian military, the Iranian leadership, they are just they're getting destroyed. They're getting shredded. And the collapse, it's rapid. It's stunning. It's almost unbelievable. It's shocking. And let me just read this text because I think this explains at least a part of it, which is, you can tell there's nothing there on the ground for the mullahs. There's just nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. By the way, okay, Bibi now is addressing Israel. He's coming out giving a press conference, and he's got a big smile on his face. So he's angry about the hit on the hospital. He's telling Israelis the war is not over, but you can just tell by his body language he feels very good right now. And look, I think this is a key reason why. And this is from 603. Jeff, one thing that's not getting a lot of media coverage is just how much support for what Israel is doing is actually showing up on the ground in Iran. The videos attesting to this of people cheering on the strikes, photos of publicly displayed anti-regime banners that are coming out of Iran is very telling. What people need to realize is that this brutal regime of mullahs and the Ayatollah, now this is very important, please listen to this, are all considered descendants of Muhammad, right? The Prophet Muhammad, the original Muhammad of 1500 years ago, through his daughter Fatima and her husband Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now, here's the key. Well, Muhammad and his descendants are Arab, or in this case, at least partially Arab. But Iranians are not Arabs. They are Persians. So let me ask you this. If you were a Persian, i.e. an Iranian, living in modern-day Persia, i.e. Iran, would you want to be ruled by a repressive regime of Arabs? Now, you see, we don't quite get that, right? We don't just follow Middle East politics that closely, that we know these kind of ethnic, racial differences or cultural differences. But it would be akin to, just to think about it, say Italy being ruled by, I don't know, a German regime. Or Germany being ruled, I don't know, by a Russian or Polish regime. How do you think ordinary Germans would feel? How do you think ordinary Italians would feel? They would see this as not just a dictatorship, right? Like a repressive regime. They would see it as a form almost of imperialism, of imperial rule. In other words, just to continue my analogy, it's a German regime running at Italy, running Italians. So there would be tremendous ethnic resentment against the regime, saying, hell, they're not even Italians, for God's sake. They're foreigners running us. So I think that's part of the answer, is that most Iranians say these mullahs, these ayatollahs, are not just primitive, barbaric, fanatical, authoritarian, repressive, brutal. They're not even freaking Iranians. They claim to be descendants of Arabs. And I think that's why you're seeing such little loyalty to the regime. They're not, so far, they're not rallying around the flag. 617-266-6868. Tom in Westford. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Show as usual.
Thank you, Tom.
I think if he can negotiate a peace treaty, I think that would make Trump, it'd be the best thing. It'd make him look very, very great. I mean, if he could do that without dropping the busters. And if he has to drop the busters, which I don't think he has, I think he should let Israel do it. But I think if he can negotiate a peace treaty, get them to come to the table, I think that would be the greatest of all-time things that he could be noted for in history. I mean, he'd be the peacemaker. He'd be the peacemaker. So
Tom, listen, let me, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. By the way, you're a genius. I'm telling you, you're a genius. I don't know, whatever your IQ is, trust me, it's over 140. You are 1,000%, not 100, 1,000% correct. I don't want to get ahead of myself, okay? I don't, because it's never over till it's over. And with these mullahs, man, they're like a snake. You never know when they're going to strike. And never underestimate your enemy. So please take all of what I'm saying with a spoonful of salt. But let's just, let's just play this scenario out. If Israel finishes off the mullahs, and I mean finishes off their nuclear weapons program, and the mullahs have to sign a peace treaty, ending forever, their ability to enrich uranium, meaning they'll never get the bomb, Donald Trump will go down in history as the greatest president in the history of the United States. He will go down as a hero, as a peacemaker, as a statesman. I think there's no question. And I think you're going to see he's popular now, but I think you're going to see his popularity absolutely soar. I mean, soar. I think the American people are obviously they're going to go, bravo to Bibi, to Netanyahu and Israel. People are just going to say, tip my hat off to you. Like, guys, this is one for the ages, but they're going to look at Trump and say, just bravo. Because up to this point, he's played it perfectly. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but it's like a pitcher, if I can use a baseball analogy. He's throwing a perfect game. It's not even a no-hitter. A no-hitter is incredible. He's throwing a perfect game. Yeah, you see, that's what Mike, I agree with you, Mike. I should have said it. I should have kept my big mouth shut. See, Mike says the problem is when you bring that up during an actual baseball game. Oh my God, it's a perfect game. It's a perfect game. You usually blow the game. That's why, baseball people are superstitious and they say you shouldn't bring up when a pitcher's on his way to a perfect game, say nothing. So I shouldn't have said what I said, but now you blame me. If this thing goes sour, Mike says he blames me because I should have kept my big mouth shut. But Tom, you're dead on. This could be Trump's hour. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very quick. The lines are blazing. I want to go right back to the phone lines. This was Trump yesterday, asked by reporters, you've called for Iran's unconditional surrender. And Trump clarified it. I don't mean the regime. I'm not saying they have to all leave or surrender power, but their nuclear weapons program, their ballistic missiles, gone. Unconditionally, it has to end. It's got to be over, done with permanently. Listen now to Trump saying we can never allow the mullahs to acquire the bomb. And you want to know what unconditional surrender means? Let me tell you exactly what it means. Roll cut 3, Mike.
What does that mean? Unconditional surrender. Two very simple words. Very simple. Unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it. I give up. No more. Then we go blow up all the nuclear stuff that's all over the place there. No, they had bad intentions. For 40 years they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, death to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies. And now they're not bullies anymore, but we'll see what happens. Look, nothing's finished until it's finished. War is very complex. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of turns are made. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that we won anything yet. I would say that we sure as hell made a lot of progress. And we'll see. The next week is going to be very big. Maybe less than a week. Maybe less.
That's what I love about him. He just speaks from his heart. It's like, yeah, maybe even less than a week. He basically saying, I think this thing could be over. We'll see. Now, again, he's an older man. He's 79 years old. He's an experienced man. He's, it's in his second term. He's like, look, wars sometimes don't go the way you think they're going to go. In other words, don't count your chickens before they're hatched. It's going great. We're winning. Iran is losing. There's no question. But it's not over until it's over. You can tell on him. He's feeling good. He's feeling good, and he's saying, let's not get overconfident, and let's just, see this thing now through to the end. Now, I thought he made an excellent argument. And by the way, just super quick, before I get to the other cut, the schoolyard bully, I thought that was a great analogy. Again, why is nobody in the region, lifting a finger to help the mullahs? Because they keep bullying everybody. They've been bullying their neighbors for decade after decade after decade. And now, when the regime is facing an existential crisis, now the mullahs, now they're in the fire. Suddenly now, they've got no friends. They've got no friends. They've got no allies. Like the schoolyard bully, you punch them right in the mouth. That's what my dad taught me when I was young, and it's true. A bully is a bully until you punch him back. And you punch him right in the mouth. And suddenly the bully starts to run. And nobody cares for the bully. In fact, they cheer you on as you punch the bully. Like, that's exactly what's happening right now in military terms. Israel, they just cocked them. They cleaned their clock. They hit him with a hammer blow. You want to talk punching him in the mouth? They really punched him in the mouth. And now the mullahs are running and everyone's cheering. Nobody's saying, come back, stay. So, you're a bully for 45 years. What comes around goes around. Now, this I thought where I think Trump laid it out very simply, but very powerfully and accurately about what the stakes are, where he goes on about, nobody can allow them to get the bomb. Roll cut 3A, Mike.
But is there anybody here that said it would be okay to have a hostile, very, zealots really, but to have a hostile country have a nuclear weapon that could destroy 25 miles, but much more than that, could destroy other nations just by the breeze blowing the dust. that dust blows to other nations and they get decimated. This is just not a threat you can have. And we've been threatened by Iran for many years. If you go back and look at my history, if you go back 15 years, I was saying we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I mean it more now than I ever meant it. Yeah.
He's right. He has been consistent over and over, really the last 10 years. Over and over and over in his first term, when he was in exile, now, even before he ran for president, he's been rock solid, consistent, over and over. Iran cannot get the bomb. We can do a lot of deals. We can be very accommodating. We can be very flexible. But the one thing they can't have is the bomb. You can't give these people the bomb. Now, what he said, right? When you discuss it, you said, well, okay, when we discuss this, you go, well, Iran gets the bomb. God forbid they will use it and drop it on Israel. Israel would obviously retaliate. They have about 100 nuclear missiles and they would wipe Iran off the face of the map. That's why it's so dangerous. But look at the way Trump so lays it out, so beautifully, simply, and clearly. He's saying, we're talking about nuclear radiation now from a nuclear bomb. The wind is going to blow it into other countries. In other words, the Palestinians are going to be affected. Millions of them are going to die. Say there is a nuclear war. Jordan is going to be affected. Millions of Arabs are going to die. Egypt is right there. They have a border with Israel. How many Egyptians are going to die? In other words, don't just think it's going to be Jews and Iranians that get wiped out. He's saying you're going to have millions and millions of Arabs, of Palestinians, of Egyptians, of Syrians, of Lebanese, of Jordanians. And when you phrase it like that, the region is like, okay. In other words, what he's telling them is, look, guys, you may hate Israel. You may hate the Jews. I'm not going to argue with you on this point anymore. But if the mullahs get the bomb, you know it and I know it and the world knows it, they're going to use it. And you know what the Jews are going to do because they've got 100 nuclear missiles. You think Israel's going to take it lying down? So you're going to have nukes flying at each other. And you guys are going to be in the middle. And if you think you're going to avoid the contamination and the radiation, you're not. So to avoid all of this, which would be the greatest war crime in the history of the world, we're talking millions and millions and millions dead that you may never recover from. Don't give the mullahs the bomb. And honestly, this is the checkmate argument. What he just laid out there, and I'm sure he's been saying this because he's been working the phones with all the leaders in the Middle East. And I think that's why you're saying, why is Egypt quiet? Why is Turkey quiet? Why is Syria quiet? Why is Lebanon quiet? Why is Jordan quiet? Why is Saudi Arabia quiet? Why is the entire Muslim Middle East quiet? Because it's like ding, 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 ding. No. Iran gets the bomb. We're all going to go up in some kind of a radiation cloud, a nuclear mushroom. So now the region has a self-interest in seeing Israel win this war. He has outmaneuvered the mullahs at every turn. Kim in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Kim, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
I thank you for taking my call. Last night I think I had an epiphany about the Trump derangement syndrome. Like, why do they think this way? And I actually made a note. Can I read it to you?
Yes, please.
Okay. I came to a realization about people. You can tell a lot about someone by their response to COVID. I mean, some people are still living like it's lockdown. Now, I guess what I'm trying to say is they were like institutionalized. Whatever. Not so. What the heck was the guy's name?
Fauci.
Fauci. Whatever Fauci said, and it's they were like institutionalized. It's the Trump derangement system and how they became deranged. Like when Trump said about making the joke was about drinking bleach. Oh my God, he wants us to die. He wants us to drink bleach. Like they were, they lost the ability to like free think. And now you just install whatever orange man bad. They're picking people up at vans, you know. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It makes perfect sense, Kim. And to be honest, and you delivered it well. Please don't get me wrong. Kim, trust me, in the future, it sounds even better if you just speak from the heart. I know you're nervous. You're calling in and you think you need to write something down. I'm telling you, you don't. And I always advise this to callers. The best calls, don't read, speak from the heart. It sounds even better. But no, you're completely right. And look, let me bring it back to Iran because you're right. The thinking that you're seeing among liberals, and you identified it, the Trump derangement syndrome, the fanaticism, the lunacy, the blind loyalty. You mentioned the lockdowns. You mentioned Fauci, how they'll just do whatever they're told, like a bunch of zombies. How they're almost living in a fantastical world, disconnected from reality. He's picking people up in vans and just deporting them to these torture places in El Salvador. They'll believe the craziest, most outlandish, false, insane conspiracy theory. Evil orange man! Basically, it's the mullahs, the thinking of the mullahs is the same as the thinking of the liberals. It's a fanatical mind. Instead, with the mullahs, it's death to America. With liberals, it's almost the same thing, but it's death to Trump. That's really what it comes down to. Death to Trump. And now they're even chanting it, death to Trump. Just like the mullahs chant, death to America. And it is that exact same fanatical mindset. And just like the mullahs have America or Israel or Jewish derangement syndrome, they're deranged. And you just mention America, la, they go nuts. You mention Israel, la, they can't think or reason. It's the same thing with the left in this country. You just mention Trump, and they go nuts. Hitler, fascism. Whatever he proposes, they oppose. No matter how commonsensical, how right, how accurate, how popular it is. That's why they'll take the most fringe, extreme position. If Trump is for it, they're against it. They don't care. That's the fanatical mind. That's the mind of the Ayatollahs. That's the mind of a totalitarian. And the only difference is the mullahs are Islamic totalitarians. Liberals in this country are socialist or Marxist totalitarians. But it's that same warped totalitarian mind. And that fanaticism, that lunacy, that insanity, that inability to operate in a real world is what's now destroying the mullahs in front of our eyes. Because they can't deal with reality. Reality would be right now, think about it, any sane, rational person, okay, take your pick, would say, get rid of the nuclear program. Just forget it, guys. It's over. It's over. Look, guys, if we're going to lose everything, we're going to lose the country, we're going to lose our leadership, we're going to lose our regime, we're going to lose the whole damn thing. Sign and end the weapons program before we're all hanging from a crane. No. Allah, Allah, Allah. That's, I'm telling you, the Ayatollahs. Did you see that speech he gave yesterday? He's telling the Iranian people, I swear to you, we have America and Israel on the run. And that crazy voice of his and that monotone way that he speaks, he's 85 years old. And he's like going on and our missiles are raining down. We're defeating Israel. The enemy is in retreat. You are crazy, dude. Dude, what planet are you living on? That's the same thing with the libs. That's the exact same thing. We've got Trump right where we want him. What happened to the No Kings protest? That was supposed to bring down Trump. You remember that? Millions are going to come out. We're going to shake this country to its very foundation. It was a bunch of lunatics and losers. The country's laughing at them. They've lost the ability to deal in the real world and to function rationally. And Trump is breaking both of them. He's about to break the mullahs, literally break them. And the libs now, I mean, politically, they're in the wilderness. So, Kim, you're dead on. The same mindset that the liberals have hating Trump is the same mindset now that's going to bring down the mullahs. 617. Thank you for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Just very quick. Here's a montage of Trump over 10 years. This goes back to 2015. So this was even before he officially ran for president of the United States for the first time. So it's a 10-year montage. Roll cut 100, Mike.
Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, that I can tell you. Most importantly, the United States and Israel can declare with one voice that Iran must never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon. Never, ever. Reaffirm that Iran must never be allowed to obtain, under any circumstances, a nuclear weapon. In order to ensure the other big move, the Iranian regime never obtains nuclear weapons. A regime with this track record must never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Thank you very much.
Now, I could play you hundreds and hundreds more. But literally, this was from 2015 to recently. So, say what you want about Trump. But on the issue of Iran and the bomb, no one has been more consistent and principled than Trump. Bob in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Bob. And as always, welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Bob.
I think Trump is arming everything and moving all these troops and everything in position, and it's all a ploy to scare the mullahs into finally giving in. And he's not going to accept a treaty. He wants full surrender, and this is what he's going to end up with. And I know everybody's talking about the possibility, if we blew up that thing that's 300 feet below the surface of the Earth, that it would cause atomic poison to the atmosphere. But 300 feet down, if you disable this machine that's down here and not blow it up, that would prevent that, I believe. I could be wrong. But if you just shut it down and dismantle it, that'd be the end of the whole mess.
Well, Bob, almost right on cue. This is breaking as I speak to you. Maybe 20 seconds ago? So in the midst of your call, Trump now has come out and said, quote, I want victory, not a ceasefire. And now he says victory is within our grasp. So now again, he means the end of Iran's nuclear weapons program and the end of their ballistic missile program. But right on cue, I don't think Trump now is going to even, he's not accepting a ceasefire. He's not going to even take negotiations. Basically, the mullahs have to sign over their nuclear weapons program. Finished. Period. Full stop. And let the UN come in immediately. The UN, the IAEA, that's the official UN watchdog group. Let them come in and dismantle every single enrichment facility. So, Bob, you're dead on. Now, I think Trump, to avoid any potential radiation or leakage, again, he's a humane man, would rather end this now than continue the bombing. Just because it's less civilian deaths, less possibility, as I said, of something going wrong with a nuclear reactor or one of these enrichment sites. So he wants now complete victory. Now, it's over. I'm telling you right now, militarily, the Iranians have lost. The only question now is, will the mullahs realize they've lost? And to bring it back to World War II, the Imperial Japanese were a bunch of fanatics. The Japanese regime under Tojo, they lost in 1944. They kept fighting for another year. Hitler lost the war by 1944, kept fighting for another year. Now, they're not going to fight for another year. But what I'm saying is, when you're run by a group of lunatics, extremists, literally fanatics, they don't want to see reality. They don't want to accept reality. Iran has now lost the war. The question is, will their leadership be able to comprehend that and come to terms with it? Trump is hoping they do, but if not, again, Trump now is asking very serious questions about the use of these massive bunker busters. So he's got a plan in place, and he's basically telling the Iranians, the clock is ticking. Either give me terms of surrender now, or I'm going to join Israel, and we're going to finish it together. Bob, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Bill in Providence, Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Good morning, Steamroller. How are you today? An amazing show as usual.
Thank you.
Well.
Thank you, Bill.
Absolutely. I want to mention just to give an idea, have you ever lived in a neighborhood where you have a next door neighbor that is constantly doing something annoying, and the other neighbors are just so sick of it, annoying, whatever it is?
Yes.
It could be something, I don't know what it is. Everybody who's probably listening said, oh my God, I've lived next.
Yes. Bill, please hang on. I love the analogy that you're developing. Please hang on, Bill. I'm up against a hard break. We're going to come back. No, I'm living in it now. Everybody on my street who's listening, you know who I'm talking about. Is this guy a pain in the you-know-where or what? 919 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, apparently now Trump has given the final approval for the war plans for the United States to join Israel in their all-out attack now on Iran's nuclear weapons program. He has not given the final order, however. He is now asking about the use of bunker busters and how much can they guarantee that it will finally wipe out Iran's capability to develop any kind of enrichment or any kind of nuclear weapons capability. So the Israelis believe that Trump is very close now to formally declaring war on Iran. We shall see. My question to you, should the United States bomb Iran? Should it stay the course, basically help Israel, but stay out? Or should they give the mullahs one last chance to settle this at the diplomatic negotiating table? Let's go back to Bill in Providence. He was developing the analogy, as everybody knows about a neighbor on their street, in their block, in their neighborhood, that everybody can't stand. Nobody can stand this person. Please, Bill, pick up where you left off.
Thank you so much. It's funny because it's not funny, but it's funny because everybody can understand the analogy. And the simple fact is, there are other people in the neighborhood. Eventually, they just say, enough. And I think the really sad part is, we've had maybe, and maybe you can help me, 2 generations, maybe 3 generations now, of not knowing what having a quiet neighborhood is about. We don't know. We've never experienced, Iran's doing this, and Iran's saying that, and Iran's doing that, and Iran's poking this. It's enough. Can you ever imagine, which we can't because we haven't experienced it yet, an article in the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, Miami Herald, whatever, it doesn't matter. Something not about Iran being a pain in the you-know-what. We have never seen that. And it's going to be very odd, I think, to see maybe quiet. It's going to be really interesting to see what the world, and I also want to say, we have no choice but to finish this, because this is not a political situation. This is a religious situation. My gut is, from what I understand, and I hope I don't want to offend anybody who's who study Allah, Muslim, because it's a beautiful faith. I mean, really, if you don't go insane about it, just like Christianity. So I think there's even a 1-800 number, from my understanding from friends of mine, where you can see where somebody can come down. I don't mean to laugh. Shame on me. They can come down and save the Muslim religion based on a world war of some type, where you can call and see what level, like, I don't know, did they come in a sleigh, a plane, or what? I don't get it. But maybe you can explain and interpret that for me and maybe some of the other listeners.
Well, Bill, my question to you is this. Do you think now, with Israel winning the war, is it necessary for the United States to join? I think that's the question Trump is going to be. That's going to be the ultimate question. Israel now is mopping the floor with the mullahs. So at this point, do we need to formally join them? In other words, you know, the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Should we get involved? Or do you think we need to get involved because we can deliver the decisive final knockout blow? What say you?
I think the world, and this is a political answer from my standpoint, everybody knows we're involved. We're involved. Now, are we involved, quote, wink, wink, politically? I think the president has done a verbal, masterful job in playing the political high game and saying, well, you know, we're not in, and most people think we're not in, or whatever it is. But we're in. I mean, we're in. CIA's in. We're helping Israel. And I guess that's okay. Do we need to be, quote, physically in? No. Why? Like you just said, it's not broken, so don't fix it. But I love your show, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. As always, very thoughtful call. Bill, thank you very much. I appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Sonny in Plymouth. I know you've been holding patiently, Sonny. Thank you and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Jeff, I'm a Navy veteran. I served from 1964 to 1968. War is the ultimate insanity and very unpredictable. I agree with what you said yesterday. Let Israel finish off Iran's nuclear program and long-range missile program. But my question now, what if the mullahs, out of desperation, decide to attack our troops in the Middle East? Does Trump have any intelligence saying that's about to happen? What I would like to see, if they do not attack our troops, I would like to see Israel finish this thing, and we get it over with. But that was my question. What do we do if they attack our troops in the Middle East?
Well, I think that would be, look, I think Trump would have no choice but to respond. You know, I know some of his advisors would say, Mr. President, just hold your fire, because Israel is a couple days, it appears they could be a couple days away from winning this war. Now, if Iran does that, they want to get a reaction out of us. It would be an act of folly. It would be an act of lunacy. It would be an act of absolute desperation. Frankly, it would be an act of suicide. Because at this point, look, they can't handle Israel. They're now going to, they're going to attack us to draw us in? It's almost like they're guaranteeing their destruction. And it's almost as if they want to draw us in because they're hoping that by drawing us in, this will provoke either China or Russia or some other great power to come in. So to me, my point. Yeah, I think that's the only card, but that's a desperate card that they're playing. No, look, Sonny, I got to be honest with you. If I'm President Trump, the question I'm asking myself now is, could we be living in a post-Mullah world? Is this not just the end of the weapons program? Is this now the end of the Ayatollahs? 617-266-6868. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Very, very quickly, I just want to mention this, and then I want to go right back to the phone lines. Israel now is absolutely pounding, I mean hammering, Iran's enrichment uranium, their uranium enrichment sites. They have complete air dominance. They have complete control of the skies. They are now hitting them. They're showing no mercy, and they are hitting them at will. Now, what is interesting is that they have hit Natanz, which is deep underground, or partially underground, forgive me, and that's in many ways the heart of their nuclear program. They have had multiple direct hits. They have hit Basher, which is another very key area, nuclear enrichment area. They've hit the Arak, which is A-R-A-K, not Iraq, but the Arak nuclear, heavy nuclear reactor, direct hit. Isfahan, which is another one they've hit. The reason why these are the big ones, the really big ones. There's one, though, that they have not hit. If you look at a military map where all of their nuclear facilities and sites are laid out, spread out across the country, most of it, by the way, is either around the capital or in western Iran. Not all, but most. There's one place they have not hit yet. They've hit every site except one, and that's Fordo. That's the one that's buried deep underneath the mountain. That one has not been touched yet. The question is, and again, I don't have privy to intelligence or, back channel discussions. The question I think now is Bibi calling up Trump and saying, will you take out Fordo? If America is to join the war, yes, they'll help them mop up the other enrichment sites, the ballistic missiles, the launchers, but the big one will be, will you drop the mother of all bombs, drop these bunker busters, and smash Fordo to pieces? Or do I have to send my people in to do it? Because to me, it's just interesting. When you look at a map, they've hit every key nuclear enrichment site, every single one. And some are in absolute they're shattered. They're completely shattered. But Fordo has not been touched. So it's almost as if, okay, do I do it? Do you do it? Do we do it together? In other words, they're leaving that one, which is the most difficult one, for the end. So my question again, and I think that's the pressure that Trump feels to join the bombing campaign. We have the technology. We have the bomb. We have the bombers. We can do it. Should we do it? That's now the question. And let me just very quickly, as you know, there has been a huge schism now within MAGA over Israel's decision to attack Iran. I support Israel's decision all the way, but you have many, many voices, intellectual voices, influential podcasters, talk show hosts, podcasters. For example, Tucker Carlson is against it. The whole thing. He believes Israel is making a big mistake. Israel should not be attacking Iran. He doesn't, and he thinks Trump and the United States are now morally complicit in Israel's preemptive and what Tucker believes illegal war against Iran. I disagree. I'm just laying out the case. Steve Bannon has come out saying he hates this. He's opposed to it. Candace Owens says she's opposed to it. You have many, many people who helped Trump win the election who say that they disagree with Trump on this issue fundamentally. My question to you, will this war in Iran, with Iran, will it permanently split the MAGA movement? Or did Trump make the right move in supporting Israel? 617-266-6868. I can play you the cut. I don't want to waste your time. Trump was asked about Tucker Carlson's criticisms, and he said Tucker's free to have his opinion. It's a free country, but I don't owe my election to him. I owe my election to my voters, and he says my voters overwhelmingly don't want Iran to get the bomb. And so he goes, that's my position. I don't want Iran to get the bomb, period. And he believes on that issue, the country and MAGA is with him. Who's right? 617-266-6868. Bob in Raynham. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Bob.
So I definitely do not think President Trump should take this action. I'm hoping that he's showing force as the art of the deal to try to have Iran just give up. Iran will always hate us because we are allies to Israel, as will most of that region. But that being said, I also hope that maybe there's something going on within Iran which will hopefully bring a westernized, if I can call him that, Shah back into power. And also, I think that our left's agenda with the transgenderism and the abortion issue and so on feeds right into the mullah's narrative of the United States being the great Satan. I'm sure they don't show their people, us going to church and soccer games and so on, but I'm sure they fill their brains with all of this behavior that we even find disgusting to their people, which keeps their people from becoming the great Satan, if you know what I'm saying.
No, Bob, I do. And look, I want to commend you for your courage, because that is a very effective, and I say propaganda, not that it's false. Even a stopped clock is right twice a day. I mean, propaganda in terms of manipulating your population to hate a country. The mullahs have been very effective in saying, you really want to bring American-style government and American culture into Iran? You want transgenderism for your kids? Is that what you want? You want same-sex marriage? You want literally abortion on demand all the way up until 9 months? Is that what you want? Do you want biological men competing in women's sports? Do you want drag queen story hour? And all they got to do is just show them CNN and show them MSNBC and just say, listen to Kamala Harris or listen to Bernie Sanders or listen to AOC or listen to Gavin Newsom or listen to Pritzker or Michelle Wu, or take your pick, and say, look, here, we'll just play you. This is what they say. This is what they're doing. We're not making this up here. From their own mouth, from the proverbial horse's mouth. And I think many Muslims, it's not just in Iran, many in the Middle East say this is disgusting. We want nothing to do with it. And I think it's a major reason why many of them hate us. Yes, they don't like our support for Israel, no question. But it's more than that. And I think we're kidding ourselves. It's cultural. What we send to the world is not a nice signal. Most of the world is traditionalist. And I'm not just talking about the Muslim world. In India, they don't like this stuff in India. They're Hindu, predominantly. They have a lot of Muslims too, but they're predominantly Hindu. China, morality-wise, very traditional. So what I'm saying is, for much Eastern Europe, they find it disgusting. Russia, the same thing. So I think you're right, Bob. If we want to be a great nation, we have to be a good nation. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jack in Boston. Thanks for holding, Jack, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I'll be very quick.
Yes.
Fordo is the Fort Knox
of Iran's nuclear program. We have a template in the United States for how to attack Fort Knox. Israel has air superiority. They bring in a few helicopters. I'm going to give you a name that'll give you the whole story. Auric Goldfinger. You bring in the helicopters. You bring in a few devices from somewhere. You drop them into the Fordo building. You leave. You go in the helicopters and you push a button. That can be how you deal with it. Number two, this war with Iran is something the Sunni countries want, the leaders of the Sunni countries. This is the reformation that Islam has never had. Catholicism had the Protestants have had reformation. Islam has never had reformation. This is their time for reformation and modernization. As for Trump, the one thing he may be wanting to do, I don't think Israel necessarily needs the U.S., but the United States under Biden and Obama is not trusted to be a steady supplier of munitions or to be a permanent friend. Saudi Arabia doesn't trust the U.S., and Trump may want to show the Saudis by jumping in to help Israel that he will be there for them if they need help. Other than that, I'm not sure the United States needs to get involved unless it wants to build a new rapprochement to the countries that it, in the past, has said, forget it. The Saudis asked for help with weaponry when Biden came in, and they told them no because you killed Khashoggi, and we're not going to help you. They didn't bother to say how many other people have been killed in the world, but they said to the Saudis, forget it, we're not going to help you. That's my comments.
Jack, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. And I agree with you. I think it is deafening. The silence in the Middle East and especially among Sunni Muslim countries. You mentioned Saudi Arabia, but Egypt, Syria, you could go on and on. Turkey. It tells you everything you need to know. The region wants the mullahs gone. Jack, thank you very much for that call. Anthony in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
Jeff, the MAGA people voted Trump in for this certain reason. How many decades are we going to listen to Debt to America and the stuff these psychos do? True MAGA are preemptive people. We're not reactors. There's two kinds of people out there. If my little kid's playing with a knife, I'm going to preempt the injury and take it away from him. Other people will wait till he cuts his finger off and then react. I don't want to react to a nuclear disaster because those psychos will drop a bomb, and they'll start dropping them on everybody in that region. So the MAGA people are preemptors. We want to stop it before it happens, and we do not want to react after it happens.
Anthony, just to play devil's advocate, and this is, for example, the argument Bannon, Tucker Carlson, and others are making, and I want to get your take. They say, okay, Anthony, I hear you, but Trump was the peacemaker. He campaigned as the man that would never get us involved in another major war in the Middle East. In fact, he was going to end our involvement in endless wars. This breaks a seminal campaign pledge. He's betraying many of his voters, and that many people will never forgive him for it. What say you?
Jeff, I'm pretty much dumb as a stump. I barely got out of high school. I'm in the excavation business. I'm not the brightest bulb in the tree, but I do have a little bit of electricity, okay? This is the biggest move towards peace on Earth, and nobody can see the forest through the trees. You destroy Iran's nuclear capability, the peace is going to break out everywhere. And when Trump gets involved with Israel to wipe this out, it's going to be days, not weeks. It's not going to be an endless war, and it's going to create an enormous amount of peace around the world. Everyone's going to rejoice. Everyone's going to be prosperous, and Iran is going to be a country that people will want to visit.
Anthony, wow. Thank you for that call, my friend. Tom on the Cape, I hate to do this to you. I've literally got 1 minute left. The floor is yours. Go.
All right. Hey, Jeff. So bottom line is
like some of the callers have said, it's true without a doubt. Let's stop listening to what all these people, Tucker Carlson and all these people, they have no moral authority. Obama, Biden gave billions of dollars in cash to them to keep them going. Trump had them on life support, and they were resuscitated by the Democrats, by the people who have a different agenda, the Tucker Carlsons and other people that think we shouldn't do anything. We have been dealing with this loose, rotted tooth for too long. It's time to pull the tooth. You've got to get rid of them. What I would say is this, though. I think it's important to, if they truly...
Tom, yeah, look, I'm sorry, brother. And this is what I mean. You know, this Bill O'Reilly is taking up 2.5 minutes of the show. I could get at least Tom in all the way and even another caller. But anyway, Israel now has just come out and said they want the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei to be taken out. Oh, bye-bye.